Hi guys, welcome back. So in this video I'm just going to show you how I made this 3D layered backdrop. Obviously this video is just a simple guide to show you the process. It's not a super detailed tutorial since it was also my first time making this one, but if you're interested in making your own backdrop, so then come along with me and let's learn together. So for the main structure, I picked 1/2 inch plywood. I just felt like it's strong enough to hold the shape, and also it's not too light to move around because you don't want it way too heavy. So this part is very important. So you have to figure out how to draw those curved lines. So firstly, I drilled a small hole at the end of the strip, that wooden strip. And then I had to drill exactly 7 holes along the strip, so you have to space them evenly. So my ones were about 10 centimeters apart. So now you have to find the center point of your board and then just drill a very small hole, put that wooden strip, the one that has those 7 holes, and then put a screw on top. Just keep it slightly loose because you want it loose. So at this point, I then measured and marked the vertical lines going down. And just bear in mind that you still have to maintain the same distance of 10 centimeters all the way down to the board, because these lines will help keep everything even when you're cutting the pieces. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm still learning. I don't have special tools to do this type of work, so I just used what I had in the house. I just used a simple jigsaw, but I know and I'm sure there are some special tools that you guys can buy. But the jigsaw did everything that I wanted for this project. I used it for the curved sections and I used it for the straight cuts. I had no problems or no issues whatsoever. The only thing is you can't rush when you're doing the straight cuts because you have to make sure the lines are exactly straight. Otherwise, when you come to join those lines, it might be a little bit tricky for you. So take your time, move around, make sure your board is clamped, because once it starts moving and you are holding the jigsaw, that can actually make you go off track. So yeah, take your time and do all your cuts. Yeah. Once you finish cutting everything, you are going to end up with 5 different levels of I don't know what you call them, whether you want to call them strips at this stage, because they're not backdrop at this stage, but this is what you're going to end up with. So after cutting those 5 pieces, now you have to create the 3D layered effect. So for this part, I used bendable wood. So it's very thin and easy to bend, which makes it quite perfect for forming those curved sides for the arch. These strips that I'm cutting, I will use them when I'm connecting the front and the back and the sides of the pieces when everything is joined together. Once you finish cutting the bigger strips, you're gonna have to cut the smaller strips that will join those curved arches that we cut. The strips were roughly about 2.5 inches, about 6 centimeters. So you can't guess the number because it depends with the height of your backdrop. But everything will make sense once you start building the whole thing together, because the strips will then connect the front and the back pieces, and they will then help create that 3D layered look that we are after. Now we're gonna have to start building all those pieces together. At this stage, I would advise that you find another pair of hands to help you, because it's gonna be very hard for you to try and hold the arch on the floor and then trying to hold the bendable board at the same time. So I used wood glue and I also used a staple gun. I should have used a bread nail, but I wasn't too sure how to use it and I was too scared to use it. So I decided to use a staple gun because I've used it in the past. So the reason for using the glue is it just makes the bond a bit stronger, and then the nails will help hold everything in place whilst the glue dries. So once you start joining everything, I forgot to mention this part that you have to make sure that you label them, because you don't want to use the wrong curve at the wrong stage. So I had to label mine from A, B, C all the way to D, starting with the smallest one. So when you're joining, you always start with the smallest curve and then you move to the next size up until you use the biggest curve. So the biggest curve is the one that goes right on top of everything when you're joining your pieces together. So at this stage, you repeat the same process all the time. So you put the curved arch first, you have to put the wooden glue, and then when you finish putting the glue, you get your bendable board. Stick the bendable board using the nail gun or staple gun, whatever you're using to hold everything together. Take your time. If you need an extra pair of hands, honestly, it's worth asking for help. Otherwise, it's going to take you forever to build this thing. The last thing you want is to put the wrong piece at the wrong space. Once we put the biggest piece on top, this is the look. This is how it's looking, and I'm loving it so far. Obviously it's not finished yet because I have to go in between and edge the bendable boards to make sure I close all those open gaps. So those are the layers that I was telling you that you have to make sure you label them so it's easier for you. You label the smallest one from A right up to E. I say D the other time. Point of correction is from A to E because I've got 5 different pieces. Then continue the same process, fill all the gaps. Now it's a bit easier. You can actually turn the board the other way around because it's becoming a bit flimsy and I don't have a lot of space in my garage, so I have to work with the space that I have. Continue the same process, everything becomes the same. The next stage now is to build the sides. Remember those big strips of bendable wood that we used? This is where we now put them so we can cover the sides. So you have to do whatever is easier for you. I had to put it on the floor because it was becoming way too heavy for the small table that I had. So you do the same thing, put the glue, use the nails to stick everything back on. So this is how it will actually look like. After assembling everything, I had to check everything, make sure all the pieces are in place, but I could see there was some gaps. because remember I was using a jigsaw, so some of my lines were not very straight, and I could see some of the nails popping through, or some nail holes and some small gaps. So I used wood filler to fill everything in. Once the wood filler had dried, I lightly sanded the surface just to make it smooth and ready for paint. The next step was then I put the gray primer. Unfortunately, I didn't record that part, but if you want, you can use the primer just to help seal the wood and give it a bit like a better paint finish. Once the primer dries, then it's time for you to paint your backdrop any color that matches your event theme. So this is the final product of the 3D layered backdrop, and I'm super excited with the outcome. I'm a self-learner, I'm a self-taught person. If I can do it, and I'm sure you can also do it even better than myself. So this style is beautiful. It works well for kids' birthdays, baby showers, you name it. It just gives it a very nice modern look, especially when you paint it. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Please hit the like, subscribe, and share button. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll definitely see you in the next video.